So again, I'm going to put our link here for any questions that you might have while I'm going through the presentation. Just go ahead and use that link to post them. And if you see a question that you also have, feel free to give it a thumbs up, and that lets me know that this is an important question to come back to. Okay, so what are we covering today? In the presentation, what we are going to cover is going to be graduation requirements. That's going to be throughout the presentation. We're going to talk about how to fill out that scheduling card. As you know, last year you had a physical card. This year, of course, with COVID and being virtual, we have created a virtual card that you will fill out. That card will be found in your Google Classroom under scheduling. So you will fill out that card and eventually turn it in after you have actually inputted your classes into your student view. We're going to talk about some course planning, and again, we're going to talk about that inputting of your classes. So to begin the scheduling process this year, again, it will be virtual. All materials and information for you will be found in Google Classroom. You want to be sure that you can access that. So if you have not joined my Google Classroom, it would be for your class. You want to make sure to send me an email so I can get you that join code. You also want to make sure that you can log into your student view. I'm hoping that you all have been doing that throughout the school year. That is a very important place to get good information about your grades, missing assignments, and such. So you have to be able to log into Google Classroom and Student View in order to do the process. Again, you will find in Google Classroom informational how-to videos. This will show you exactly how to input your classes into your student view, as well as if you've never turned in a Google assignment or how do you do that. I also created a video on how to turn in your scheduling card. The videos are pretty short. They're probably less than 4 minutes long. So if you have any questions about that, please refer to those videos. The other thing I'm going to want you to do is to make sure you're being thoughtful throughout this process. All of the classes that you're able to choose as a 10th grader next year, they'll be in your Google Classroom under course selections. If it's not on that sheet, then it's not a class that you can take as a 10th grader. You also want to be making sure you're planning ahead. So we'll talk a little bit about course planning today. Your scheduling card is due in the Google Classroom 1 week from today. So that's next week, the 17th. You want to make sure that you have all of your classes inputted into Student View and you have turned into that Google card. I'm going to be reviewing those cards and any concerns that I have with them. I will make a meeting with you, or you might hear from me to make some corrections. So again, be thoughtful, but also make sure 1 week from today that you have done all of your input and you have turned your card into the Google Classroom. Be sure you've reviewed all the materials. I have some instructions on there. So if you missed something today, you don't want to watch the video, there's some easy instructions that you'll find in the Google Classroom on how to do this alongside those course offerings for 10th grade. Okay. All right. Also, I want you guys to make sure you're doing your research. You will have some time. You got the rest of this week. I know that we have midwinter break off, so a little bit shortened week, but make sure you are talking to your teachers about what are some of the course offerings in their departments. Of course, you can always talk to me. Friday will be having an open Zoom. What that means is you can drop in on Friday, and I'm going to post those times in the Google Classroom, but there'll be times for cohort A as well as cohort B to hop in and ask me any questions you like. You also want to make sure you're referencing the course description book. That can be found on the counseling website that I referenced earlier, and I'll show you a picture of that in a second. So if you need to look up a class, you're not quite sure what it is or what the recommendations are, make sure that you are using all of your research opportunities to get the best experience for your classes. So this is what our new website looks like. You can see here, class of 2024. And when you open it, it will say, welcome to RHS. And down here, amongst other things, will be the scheduling information. So if your parents want to see any of that scheduling information, they can always go online to the website. Or of course, you can always open up your Google Classroom, and you can show them that information from there. Next are graduation requirements. Graduation requirements means you must pass these courses as well as these credits in order to earn a diploma. And that is obviously the goal of why you're here. It's to graduate with a diploma. So these are the things you need. As I go through how to fill out your card, I'm going to touch on each of the graduation requirements and what are some classes you can use to fulfill it. You'll notice on the slide, there's some asterisks around world language, health and PE, as well as BPAA. And that is because you can meet some of these graduation requirements using what's called flex options. And that's where you could take different classes from other areas in order to meet the requirements. So again, we'll talk more about that as we go through the card. Okay, so getting started, you'll find again your schedule card in Google Classroom. You want to make sure you have that out as you're beginning to fill it out. Some students might also want to jot things down on paper and then fill out the card. Whatever your process, it is up to you. But make sure that you do your input into Student View before you put that Google card into as a turned in assignment. That way you can reference it. All right, so Google Classroom, I briefly showed that to you. You can see here on the slide all the information. You can see we have 10th grade instructions. So if you missed something today, you have your 10th grade offerings. These are the only courses that you can take as a 10th grader. So you want to make sure that you're using that to reference what to put on your card. You'll have your actual scheduling card. It's set up in there as a Google Sheet, but you'll fill it out. You can see an example of that card right over here. We have our 2 videos in here for reference on how to do things. And what you don't see here is our registration book. And there will be some information in there, including what all the BPAA classes are. I saw that question here in the question area, if a particular class was a BPAA. Using that registration book as well as the course description book, you will find a list of all the BPAA classes as well as all the other classes. So you can see in our example here, pretty simple how you're going to fill out that card. You're going to simply put check boxes in there for the selections you want. There's also an area for electives and alternates for you to hand input those classes. So you want to make sure that you are filling that out. Your name is going to go on there, your student ID, a telephone number, your email address. There's also a place for you and your parents to sign it. Now, I know obviously I can't get an actual signature from your parents, so having them type in the name and the date is going to be what I'm going to use to say, should your parents ask me if they've never seen it, I'm going to say, well, your name was on it. So make sure that your parents have referenced this, that they are typing in their name, so I know that there has been a discussion at home. So let's begin with the card process. And again, if you want to take some notes today, you certainly could do that if that helps you as you're filling out your card. And we're going to start with English. This will be in box A of your card. Every single sophomore, 10th grader takes a full year of English, just like in 9th grade. And instead of the class being called Language Arts 9, it's called Language Arts 10. Again, just like this year, you have 2 options. You can go with Language Arts 10, the regular class, or you can go the honors route. Now, if you're not currently in honors, you can still go into Language Arts 10 honors. Okay, you'll want to have a conversation with your teacher about what that looks like, any summer reading that you're going to have to do, because honors will have summer reading, but you certainly have that opportunity. If you're currently in honors and you're not getting a B or better, I would probably look at moving back to the regular honors or regular Language Arts 10 class for next year. Okay, but when you look at your card, you'll have those 2 options. When it comes to graduation, you can see here on the slide, it said students need to take 4 credits. What that means is each year you're in high school, you will take a full year of English. Okay, so you want to keep that in mind. Every single English class is important towards your graduation. Some students may ask, do I need to take honors in order to take an AP English class in 11th or 12th grade? And the answer is no. I will tell you, honors English does prepare students for the rigors of AP, but it is not a requirement in order to take AP English in the future. Moving on to social studies. Social studies is the class that all sophomores, 10th grade students take in their 10th grade year. It is a full year class made up of 2 semesters. Again, you have some options here, and this is your first option for you to explore AP courses. And I'm going to talk about AP towards the end of the presentation. But you can take regular US history or the AP US history. If you're thinking about AP, you're not really sure, make sure you are consulting your teachers. They all will have knowledge of what AP looks like and whether or not they think that's a good fit. What I would tell you to consider is actually your English skills. Whenever you're taking AP, there will be a lot of reading, a lot of writing, and you want to make sure that you're feeling confident in that area. Now, it's not going to be the entirety of the class, but that certainly is a skill that will come into use. And that is because AP is a college level course. So when you head off to college, reading and writing will be a big part no matter what you go into. So you're going to see they show up in each of the AP classes you look into. There are 3 credits for social studies as a graduation requirement. You're in one now, the world history class. It's a full year world history that you have to pass. Next year will be US history. And then before you graduate, you have to take government as an 11th grader and econ before you graduate. So those are your 3 credits. Next up, we have science. If you are currently in physical science, then you would choose biology for that box A. Every student must pass physical science and biology. That is part of the graduation requirement. If you are currently taking both physical science and biology right now, well, then you have a choice of chemistry or physics for next year. Keep in mind, students who took both of those classes, the intention was to get ahead in some of those science courses so you could take more over the 4 years of high school, okay? What I generally say to students is if you're looking at chemistry, you're looking at a life science major, so nursing, doctor, dentist, physician assistant, any of those areas, you're going to have to really know your chemistry. Physics is more for STEM careers, so that would be engineering, computers, anything where you're using more of that math and science, physics, science in your career path. Now you can see down below here, I also note that if you're considering physics, you want to have completed Algebra 2. That is not a requirement, but it is highly recommended as physics deals with a lot of Algebra 2 components. So if you're currently in geometry, you can certainly take that Algebra 2 at the same time as physics. But that's something to consider right now. If you are currently in algebra and you've taken both the physical science and biology and you're considering physics. So you'll want to talk to your science teacher about that. My last bullet point down there, you can see flex option for 3rd year. So this again is if you're trying to plan over the next couple of years, how am I going to complete this? If science really isn't your thing, there is a way to substitute that 3rd year of science. And we will talk about that more as we're planning for your junior and senior year. But just be aware, you have to at least take physical science and biology to graduate. Very important. Moving on to math. And some of you might remember during my presentation, when you're in 8th grade, I talked about how important it was to choose your math path. And I will show you in my next slide the progression of math. If you're currently in algebra, you'll simply write algebra on your card as your current math class, and you will be taking geometry. If you're in geometry, you'll move to algebra 2, and so on. So you want to make sure that you are noting those things on your card. What is my current math class? And that way it'll tell you what is the next one in the sequence. Honors. I want to cover honors for just a second because again, just like with English, if you're not currently in honors and you would like to be considered for next year, you certainly can do so. I will tell you when it comes to math, if you're not getting mostly A's on your tests and quizzes in your math class, then I would really reconsider moving up into the honors level because you are going to get more of those medium to hard problems. What you're going to want to do is to, when you're looking at honors, is to talk with your teacher, take a look at how am I doing in my math class. So when it comes to, all right. So when it comes to honors, again, make sure you are consulting your teachers. If you're not currently getting all A's on your tests and quizzes, you probably want to reconsider that. Okay, and so here is the math sequence. So if you're currently in algebra, the next class is going to be geometry. If you're currently in geometry, you're going to algebra 2. If you're currently in algebra 2, you're going to pre-calc. That would be very rare. You can take honors at the geometry, algebra 2, and pre-calculus level. So again, if you're in geometry and you're getting all A's on those tests and quizzes, maybe you want to consider that algebra 2 honors level, okay? But when you're writing your card, this is the sequence that you're going to be looking at. So let's talk about some of the fun classes. We just went through all the grad requirements, and I am going to jump back real quick to make sure I note the credits for math. You have to have 4 credits of math. So every year you take a full year. So when we're looking at the sequence, that's a credit, that's a credit, that's a credit. You must pass all the way through algebra 2. So these first 3 years are required classes. Now that last year as a senior, you must take a senior year of math. It does not have to be pre-calc. It doesn't even have to be an academic math. As long as you have passed these 3, you get a choice of the type of math that you want to take. You also can take this algebra 2 and spread it out over the 2 years if math is a struggle for you. So that will be planning will again do in your 10th grade year going into 11th. But I just wanted to make sure that I highlight that as you're thinking about your planning for the coming years, okay? So let's talk about electives. This will be in box C, and most of you take full year electives. It could be something like band or choir, but also most of our electives are going to be 1 semester. So you could have up to 4 classes in that area. Okay, so when I talk about you need electives totaling 4 semesters, that's because many of them are only 1 semester long. So if you took an art and a gym class, that's 2 semesters. Now, a lot of you will still be doing your world language class. You'll be taking maybe that 2nd year. That will count for 2 more semesters because it's a year-long class. So that could be all of your electives, 2, a gym and an art, and then a full year of a world language, okay? If you're considering student council, that's great. Do not put that on your card. Mrs. Cusimano gives us a list and we add those students by hand. So you'll just simply pick a different elective to fill in those spots. And you also, again, want to make sure that your schedule is balanced. What does balanced mean? I would not tell any student to take a full year of all math, science, English, social studies, world language, in addition to other academics like AP. That can feel overwhelming. Now, there's certainly students who are capable of doing that, but I always recommend at least take 1 hour of a class like art, like gym, maybe health, something to keep your schedule balanced so it's not all academics, okay? Again, that list of electives is going to be found in your Google Classroom, and do your research on what they are. Don't just take the class because you're hoping your friend will be in it with you. That rarely works out for students. It's not where we have all of our art classes offered 1 hour. They're spread out through the day. So make sure you're doing your research. Try and make sure that some of these might be directed towards a future goal or at least an area of interest, okay? I also want to note, if you're thinking of doing OTEC, this requires a good plan. OTEC is something that you will apply for going into 11th and 12th grade. And so I recommend students going into OTEC to have passed their health and their PE component, as well as at least 1 year of a world language by the end of 10th grade. So if you're thinking of OTEC, I'm going to show you some plans. Make sure that you are planning ahead. And here is that world language. What the requirement says is 2 credits, 2 full years of the same language. So a full year of French over 2 years, or a full year of sign language over 2 years. That's what the requirement is. Now, there is a flex option here. And the flex option is if you were taking 2 additional semesters of BPAA. So let's say you took a full year of band and 1 year of a world language, that could count for that world language credit. So that one is probably the easiest. The one thing I will say is make sure that you know if a college wants you to have 2 years that you've got those in. So for instance, all of you students thinking of applying to U of M, they want you to have 2 years of a world language. So the flex option wouldn't be in your best interest. But for all of you who are applying to a school or considering a school that doesn't have that requirement, and you're not really enjoying that world language, you might want to flex out. Now, also keep in mind, a world language is considered an academic by colleges. So if you're getting a B or better in an academic area, I'm probably going to suggest to you continuing on, okay? So that world language could be one of your 2 semester hours in your elective area. Another one could be the physical science. And I highly recommend for students to at least get your health class completed by the time you have finished 10th grade. Some of you are probably considering using 2 seasons of a sport or 2 seasons of marching band for your PE, and I think that's great, but you will still have to pass health in order to complete the full credit of physical education. So again, your option 1 could be taking a PE course at Rochester. We have swimming, we have PE sports where you're playing gym classes, you could be working out, and that could be 1 class with health, or you're doing 2 seasons of a sport or 2 seasons of marching band. There is a form already in your Google Classroom that you can fill out. Once you have those done, the coach will fill that out. The other thing I like to point out, if you earn your Red Cross lifeguard training course outside of Rochester, say at the YMCA, you bring me that card, I'm going to give you a PE credit for it. So that's another great way. That's another great way. I'm sorry. I think I just figured out I wasn't screen sharing. I apologize. That's another great way in order to earn that. So just to review from the math class, again, electives, that was the slide from that, world language, and PE. Hopefully that catches everybody up. I'm going to take a real quick look at questions. So we're going to reopen that up for those of you who want to submit questions at this point. Okay, so moving on, visual performing and applied arts. So this is a graduation requirement. It is probably the easiest one to get. It's simply 2 classes or 1 credit. So if you took a full year of band or a full year of choir, this could be a class, a way to get your BPAA. It could be some of our computers classes, business classes, student council counts for BPAA. So there's a lot of ways of earning this. And if you have additional ones, like I said, they can be used in other areas. Some of these BPAA credits, like our marketing classes, accounting classes, also could be used for that 3rd year of science. So these are really the fun ones. These are the ones probably most related to a lot of student career paths. Make sure you look those up in our course description book. In that page 4 of registration packet that you'll find in your Google Classroom, there is that full list, okay? So let's talk a little bit about advanced placement. Advanced placement is going to be a college level course taught in the high schools. This is a nationally recognized program. So what that means is the teachers are all teaching the same thing, whether you're at Rochester or Stony or even in Japan. You can take AP globally, okay? Rochester Schools has 24 different AP courses. The courses are in math, science, English, social studies. There's world language. We also have some computers classes along with some research courses. There are certainly classes other than AP US History available as 10th graders. such as psychology or AP seminar. We have some computers courses available for 10th graders, so you can really find something in any area. And if you're worried about, well, is this going to be too hard for me? What I would tell any student is if you have the right mindset, the right work ethic, you'll do better than you realize. I will also say that you need some time, right? If you are somebody who's very busy outside of school, you're playing sports, you've got a job, you're rarely at home, it's hard for you to find time to study, you want to make sure that if you are taking AP, you're not taking too many, okay? So I always believe that, Mr. Zielinski at the AP US History class, he does a great job of getting students ready for what is an AP like. So when you're taking more as an 11th and 12th grader, you come out of his class and you really feel confident to be able to take other APs, okay? So make sure you're doing your research, make sure you're talking to your teacher. I'm actually the AP coordinator for Rochester High School, so I know a lot about advanced placement. Those are great questions to ask me. Should I take one? What is the class about? At the end of the AP school year, in May, is where you can take an AP exam. This exam gives you the ability to earn college level credit. Now that credit is not the same for every school, so what U of M will award might be different from what OU can award, but it could be college level credit. And obviously we know that can be very expensive. So if you have the discipline, you have the focus, you have the interest in this the subject area, certainly this could be a great conversation that we could have at the time for scheduling, okay? So before I move on, I want to answer some questions. One of them that I'm seeing here, what are non-academic math classes? Well, that is in your senior year. You might have the ability to, because you've passed Algebra 2 as a junior, to take a non-academic math class. So that would mean you would not take pre-calc. Maybe you take accounting, maybe you take a woodworking class, maybe you take a computers class, physics, chemistry. These are math-related courses that are not considered academic math. So that is a great question. Another question, what is a VPAA? I think I covered that, but I'll say it again. In your course description book, in our registration packet, in your Google Classroom, you'll find the full list, okay? If you're in Algebra 1, what math honors class would you take? Well, hopefully some of you saw that math sequence. The next one you would take would be geometry. So that could be regular geometry, or you could take the honors. All right. So I'm going to get back into the presentation. Again, if you have questions or you see a question, give it a thumbs up. If you don't, use the app in order to ask more. So the last thing I'm going to cover here before we jump into alternates is marching band. For those of you who are in marching and jazz band, you will see in box E, you'll put a check mark into those areas if you're doing one or both. This is a 0-hour class, meaning it could happen in the morning prior to school. So you'll want to make sure you're aware of that and talking to Mr. Urig about marching band and jazz band, okay? I will have to input this for you into your student view. You are not able to do it on your own. So that's why I need you to mark it on your card so I know to put it in for you. And again, as I said, 2 seasons of marching band can count for that PE credit, but you will still have to take a health class to meet the requirement. So alternates, I know this is always the most difficult for students. Why do we have alternates? It's because sometimes those 1 semester electives, art, gym, computers, they don't always fit into your schedule very neatly with your other full year classes like world language or band or math. So we need to have some backups. Okay, these are 1 semester backups, not full year classes that you would be okay with taking that I can substitute to make your schedule complete. So that it is required for me to have these classes because it doesn't always work out where you get your first choices. When you're putting them into your student view, I'm going to ask that you put them in order of preference. So 1 through 4, which one do you want the most would be number 1. But this is a requirement. You'll use those same 10th grade course offerings, but when you look at the sheet, they'll have a little 1 in parentheses. That lets you know it's a 1 semester class, and that is where you will put your alternates. Again, I need alternates to process your schedule, so make sure that you are putting them in. All right. So let's quickly look at 4-year planning, because I think it's important when you're doing your schedule to not always just be thinking 1 year at a time. So you can see here, here's a 9th grade schedule. And this one's pretty typical. You got your English, algebra, physical science, world history, and your language. And then you probably have a couple of electives. So the typical next year for a 10th grader will be, again, a full year of language arts, a full year of geometry if you took algebra, a full year of biology, and a full year of US history. That gives you some room for electives. Now, if this is your first year of world language, then you might take that second year here. And again, you have a final hour for 2 electives. And that would be a complete schedule, okay? So then looking ahead, you might say, well, what would 11th and 12th grade look like? And some students are like, gosh, well, I have enough time to take some of the other things. Well, looking at this, you can see again, 11th grade, 12th grade, you're taking English, you're taking a full year of math. So 11th grade would be Algebra 2 if you're currently in Algebra 1 and pre-calc as a senior. You might be taking government and econ here. A lot of students will take AP Gov and push that econ to senior year, or maybe they fit it in here. But what I want you to see is how much elective space is in there. You might have taken that world language 2 years, and now you have some room for other things. Especially in that senior year, you've got a lot of room. So that's why planning ahead and using the 4-year planner that we provide for you in the bulletin, you can certainly put one down on paper. It really helps when you're trying to plan even your 10th grade year. So 4-year planning is a must. It's something I do with a lot of students when I sit down with them. Okay, so let me look and see what other questions we have in here. Where can we find the course descriptions? Well, they're in the course description book. So when you go onto our school website and you click on your graduating class under scheduling, you will see the link. If you were in advanced placement, could you take non-academic classes in your sophomore year? Not quite sure what you mean by that, Aaron. If no 9th grader is in advanced placement, you can't take AP as a 9th grader, but you certainly could take it in 10th grade as well as 11th and 12th. In fact, most students have taken at least one AP class before graduating, but you'll have plenty of opportunity there. What would be the difference between taking geometry and honors geometry? What's the difference? Well, that's a great question. The difference is, and this is according to the teachers, in the honors program, you're going to see more of those medium to hard questions. So in your homework and probably on your tests versus your regular class, you'll get some of the easy, some of the medium, maybe a handful of the hard classes. And that's why it's important that if you're taking an honors program, that you know, I'm already doing well, I'm getting mostly A's on my tests. You know, I had one teacher say to me, if you need a tutor for honors, you probably should not be in honors, okay? Can you take AP Bio as a sophomore? Great question, and the answer is no. Once you've taken physical science and regular biology, you must pass chemistry in order to take AP Bio. In fact, you have to pass chemistry to take AP Bio, AP Chem, or Anatomy and Physiology. So again, all of those students who think they want to go into life science, so that would be a doctor, physician assistant, dentist, nurse, you're going to have to go down that chemistry path in order to take some of those upper level sciences. Where can I find more information about what each class is and the electives? Well, again, the course description book is great. Your teacher is a great resource. I am a great resource. And then we have the list of the 10th grade courses already in your Google Classroom. Can you take physics as a sophomore without taking Algebra 2? The answer is yes, but I will tell you it might be a struggle. Algebra 2 is one of the bases of physics. So if you haven't gotten through there, I would suggest to you, if you've already passed physical science and biology, take the chemistry next year and then move to physics as a junior, and that will allow you to take the Algebra 2 at the same time. When are AP exams? Are they only at the end of the school year? Yes, they are. This is an exam that actually the College Board dictates to us when they're offered. They're always in May, always at the end of the school year. And that's because most AP classes are full year classes. So you need the full school year to learn everything you need to know. Do you have to take chemistry or physics to graduate? The answer is no. We actually have other sciences that you can take to meet that third year science, or like I said, you could flex out of that third year altogether. And that's the type of planning that we would do as you're a 10th grader going into 11th. So this time next year, we will be certainly talking about that. Do you have to take biology in order to take chemistry? The answer is yes. And I'm not able to tap on it, but there's a question that says, can you take 2 sciences in your sophomore year? The answer is only if you have passed physical science and biology. Those are really the gateway in order to take more sciences. Got to pass those 2 classes first. These are great questions. And before I finish, if there are questions in the chat, I will look at those, but I want to get through our presentation here. So the next thing up is Student View. You all know how to use Student View. You've been there, you've seen it. This is where you're checking your grades, attendance. Once we start posting that there, you can right now see your GPA in there under course history. It's a great place to find information. You will see starting today an area that says schedule request or course request. It'll be a new tab in your Student View, so along some of those other ones. And you'll click on that, and that will take you through into the scheduling area. Now, again, if you don't remember how to do this from last year, because we do it every year and sometimes you forget, please watch that 4 minutes, or I think it's even less than 4 minutes. It's the video, how to do your input for your classes. Very simple. Once you've watched the video, and you can watch it as many times as you like, it's posted on YouTube. Make sure you check that out, okay? Because you're going to want to make sure you know how to do it. One of the important things that I want you to really have stick in your mind, when you're inputting a full year class, you'll need to put in 2 semesters. So semester 1 of geometry and semester 2, or semester 1 of US history and semester 2. Okay, so anything that's a full year, you should click on 2 semesters of that, and you'll see it when you pull it up. Again, not covering the video right today because of time, but please go ahead and watch that, okay? So reminders for you before, as we move our way towards the end of the presentation, when you do your card, you'll notice in your Student View, it'll have 6 total credits. And in the video, I show you exactly where to find that 6 credits. So make sure it says 6. When I say 12 semesters, that gives you 6 credits because each class is a half a credit. So 0.5 times 12 equals 6, okay? Please also make sure you're going over this with your parents. I can't tell you how many times where I will get a phone call from a parent wondering what's going on, and I'll ask them, did your son or daughter talk to you about this? And they'll say no. Make sure that they've signed your card and it's them, so that way I know that they have had a conversation with you. Make sure once you've put your Student View classes in that you turn in your scheduling card into the Google Classroom. You all have been doing this probably in many of your classes. You're probably experts, but if you're not, there is a video about how to complete the assignment in your Google Classroom. So make sure to check that out. And again, you will put in 2 semesters in your when you input your classes online. Okay, staying connected. Again, hopefully, if you're not in Google Classroom, send me an email and I'll make sure to add you. I do have a remind for Mr. Green, so you can join that using this code. Some students have used this throughout our pandemic time to send me text messages. I have not had a reason yet to send you all a message, but I have a feeling one is coming to make sure to remind you to get all of this work done. So make sure to join that. You also can make an appointment with me if If you feel it's needed, if you go to the counseling website or the Google Classroom, the directions for making an appointment with me are there. So let's go back to questions. All right, next one. Can I take geometry in the summer so that I can go to Algebra 2 as a sophomore? That is a wonderful question. The answer is yes. You can take geometry in the summer. It is a full 2 sessions, so you're committing roughly 8 weeks. And what the class will do is prepare you as a student to take credit by exam. Normally, I would not recommend a student to take credit by exam by itself, but if you take using the summer school class to prepare you for that, you'll do well. The reason why you hear me saying this is because it is really important that you know those geometry skills to prepare you. There is some geometry in Algebra 2 and pre-calculus, but if you're looking to jump up into Algebra 2, taking the summer geometry could be the way to do it. You cannot take any other math class in the summer, so geometry is it. But if that's something you want to do, that could be the way to do it. Okay. Do you have to take both semesters of AP Capstone Seminar? The answer is yes. It's a full year class. You would not get through everything you need to know, but yes, it is a full year class, so you'd have to take both semesters. Can you test out of health? The answer again is yes. There's 2 opportunities to do that. You can use the credit by exam in the summer or in the spring, as well as we have one in the winter for 1 semester classes. Keep in mind, testing out means you as a student already have all of the information in your head, and you're just going to show that in a final exam. So we don't provide study materials. Your teacher is not going to tutor you. It's actually really difficult to test out of a class. It also doesn't mean you know everything you need to know just because you passed. The minimum score, I believe, is somewhere around 70%. And certainly that doesn't mean that you have all of the knowledge you need to pass. One here that I can't seem to, let's see if I can get it now. Yeah, I can't seem to pop up here. Where's this last question? What sciences can you take if you've completed biology and physical science and are interested in sciences? Well, we have botany. We have a lot of forensic science. Certainly, you could take the chemistry and physics, but you'll see them as 1 semester in your course offering sheet. And again, this is only for students who have passed bio and physics. Can you do the other sciences? So that is a great question. Let me check the chat here for other questions that are out there. Do our teachers have to approve of the classes we want to take next year? The answer is no, but there's an asterisk on that. There are certain classes that if you look at the course description book, you might need a teacher recommendation. I certainly am going to be looking at your classes to make sure that they're appropriate. So if you've been getting D's and E's and you're taking an 8, wanting to take an AP, I'm probably going to have a conversation with you about that. So not necessarily, but sometimes, okay? Would you recommend taking APUSH with honors classes? Again, this is different per student. You have to know yourself. You have to know the work level. I would make sure to talk to your current social studies teacher about their thoughts on that. If you're somebody who struggles with reading and writing, meaning you're getting C's or less in your English classes, this might be difficult to do. Take AP along with honors. Okay. How do I get into AP? Well, generally you sign up as long as you've met the requirements, the prereqs. As a sophomore, there are no prereqs for the ones available to you. So again, AP Psychology, AP US History, AP Seminar, there are no prereqs for that. What I would want you to have is some kind of conversation with your social studies or English teacher about these classes and whether or not these would be appropriate for you. But no, that's the way you do it. if you take 4 years of choir, do you get 4 credits and a recognition at graduation? Well, certainly you get the 4 credits if you take 4 full years of choir, you get those credits. I don't know that they do any recognition for that. You could talk to the choir teacher if there's some type of chords or something like that. But you can certainly get the 4 credits. Where do I get a list of AP classes for sophomore year? Well, you're going to find that information in your Google Classroom on the list of courses. So everything you need will be there. That is the end of my presentation. Hopefully I answered all of your questions. If you have more questions, you can always send me an email. You can post them into the Google Classroom. So any questions about scheduling, you're having trouble figuring out how to do something, please post those in the Google Classroom to me or email them. If you're really needing some help, you can always make an appointment with me. Again, I'm going to be doing an open Zoom on this Friday. It's going to be one before lunch and one after lunch, depending on your cohort. So I'll post that information along with the link in your Google Classroom. So everything you really need is going to be in your Google Classroom. But if there's anything else that I might have missed, please let me know. I'd be happy to help you out with that. I hope this was informative. I apologize for the bit of technical difficulties we had here. Zooms can never go perfectly. I am recording this presentation, so if you missed it or a friend missed it, I will be posting this recording out for all of you to review. I hope you have a great day. I wish I could have seen all of your faces. I just see your logos and your pictures, but I can't wait to welcome you all back into Rochester. If you want to see me here in the school day, there is the way to do that. You can email me and I can always come visit you in your classroom. We're trying to limit how much we have students moving around and coming in. So if you want to have an in-person meeting, I'm willing to do that. I would just ask you to send me an email and we can get that set up. So I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much for joining me, and get on those schedules.